We are Women Talking Football. We're here every Thursday at 2 p.m. to talk regions of high school football around the Lone Star State. If you like us, go subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. We're on it all. We love feedback, so please leave your comments below on what you like about us, what you don't like about us. We are always welcome to constructive criticism. And now let's hear a word from our good friends at VCR Now.
Born and bred in Texas hits a little different, as it should. Texas loves doing business with fellow Texans. VCR Now takes its Texas roots as seriously as its many partnerships with schools and universities around the state. It's also why we're so proud to promote our brand in the pages of the Texas Bible, Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and on the airwaves of Texas Football Today. Driven by producing quality broadcast video, state-of-the-art audio, and LED video scoreboards at affordable prices, VCR Now makes sure to listen to your needs in its athletic department before recommending the next best steps. Building great products is our business, and it's our focus on building meaningful, long-term partnerships with our clients that sets us apart. From our 24/7, 365-day help desk, the training lab in our hometown of Red Oak, or our sports marketing business plan that puts money back in the hands of our athletic departments we support, VCR Now is built to last. Reach out to us today at info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW. Again, that's info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW.
There we go. There's our good friends from VCR Now. We always appreciate our sponsors and everything on the show because that's how we also make our money. So we always are appreciative of our sponsors. And speaking of sponsors, I think we are starting to put together our Whataburger Super Team for this year. And that sounds really good. I haven't even had any lunch yet or anything, so I could really go for some Whataburger. But I've seen a lot of things. Tepper and Ish are working really hard to put together our nominations for this year's Whataburger Super Team. You can also submit your nominations for Whataburger Super Team. All you have to do is go to TexasFootball.com/Whataburger Super Team or something like that. You can nominate your own player, anybody you think is most deserving of that. If you're a winner, you get like a trophy and you get lots of free Whataburger. So there's your...
I mean, that, as much as I love the trophy, if you want to talk about free Whataburger, in my eyes,
dude, they get
that's
like a
the
year.
Real prize.
They get like a year of free Whataburger. So that right there in itself is a reason that you should go nominate your favorite player for that Whataburger Super Team. We are trying to get Miss Riley Robinson on the phone right now she's a sports anchor, sports reporter down, I guess I should say up in the Panhandle region.
Is further north than we are.
And that's hard to believe.
Because we're in North Texas.
And it's okay. It's really funny. I know we live in Texas, right? Like we're like down towards the very, very bottom of the country. But I have always lived my life in North Texas. So my automatic response to everything is like, oh yeah, let's go down there. Let's go down there to San Antonio, or let's go down to whatever. I never think of like going up. You know, even like I have a lot of family that lives in like the Wisconsin area. So I'm always like, hey, let's go down to Wisconsin. Wait a second, Wisconsin is up. So it's just always been that way for me. But she is all the way up there. We are currently trying to get her on the phone right now, Miss Riley Robinson, sports anchor and sports reporter. So while we try and get in touch with her, let's go ahead and give you our take on the Panhandle region, starting with the ranked teams. But before we put up that graphic, that's okay. It's all right. That's okay.
I got happy finger.
I know. I was just going to give a quick little introduction to the Panhandle region.
Okay.
Let me do that.
Let's do it. I got excited.
I'm excited too. This is fun. I like doing this. I like sitting here talking sports with you. Anyways, there are 43 total teams in the region. And listen to this stat, okay? The Panhandle is big, right? It's big. But there's not many There is not many bigger classification schools. Like there's a couple of 5A. There's absolutely no 5A or 6A, schools in that classification. 26 of those teams make up the 2A and 1A classifications. So literally half the region is small school football. So you're going to like small school football today because that's what we're talking about.
Let's roll.
Let's roll, friends. And 6 out of 8 of those 43 teams are ranked. And with that being said, let's go ahead and start with 5A Division 1. We've got, coming in at number 10, hot, we got Amarillo, Tascosa. Last week, they fell to Odessa Permian just by 1 point. Final score 13-12. Looking to bounce back this week against, is it Hereford? Hereford. It looks like Hereford.
It does look like Hereford. It is, in fact,
Hereford. I like it.
You have to sound country when you say that. You can't
Hereford.
say Hereford.
Well, I just said Hereford, so that doesn't sound any country. You know me, I'm not country.
City gal.
Oh, anyways, moving down to 4A Division 1, you got number 10, Dumas, always a powerhouse down there. They are, I forgot to tell you, there is Amarillo, Tascosa, they're currently 2-1. I have their records on here, and I just wanted to say that. Dumas is also 2-1. Last week, they had a pretty big win over Perryton, 27-25. Hoping to continue that streak this week against Plainview. Moving on to our 3A classification, 3A Division 1. Coming in at number 8, we've got Bushland. They are on fire right now. They're currently undefeated, standing at 3-0. Last week, they had a shutout win over Childress, winning 43-0. This week, they got Borger on the clock.
Yeah, that win last week against Childress was a statement win because when you look at they beat Canadian 47-21 and then you go beat Childress 43-0 to take 2 of the better known teams around that area of the state and really put a beat down on them. I mean, it's incredibly impressive what Josh Reynolds is doing with that squad out there.
Absolutely. Moving down to 3A Division 2, number 7, Canadian. They are number 7. They are 1-2. Shocking, I know.
Yeah.
That's not Canadian's thing. They're not, I mean, they are ranked still, but like that record, man, like they're not used to that. Last week they had a 37-36 loss to Elk City, and if that doesn't ring a bell, it's because it's in Oklahoma. They've played 2 Oklahoma teams this year. And they got Perryton on the clock this week.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what is Canadian.
What is Canadian?
Yeah. Because, I mean, okay, they've played 2 teams from Oklahoma, and then, like we mentioned, they went out there and they got beat by Bushland, which Bushland is a classification, obviously, above them. So that's a little bit to do. But, I mean, if you look back at last year, what Chris Keating's squad did for the first time in 8 years, they missed the state semifinal round, which seems crazy because what is it always? Gunner and Canadian every single year. And they got bounced early, and it was a shock. That was one of the wildest games that they didn't end up making it there, but it's like, okay, we expected them to come back with vengeance and be full force, and I think that obviously with us still ranking them number 7, we think that they're a very good team.
Yeah.
But they've got some issues to figure out, and I'm interested to see how especially when they start rolling in the district play. I don't really think, I mean, that game against Childress will be just as good as it always is, obviously, over there in that district. But other than that, I mean, I think they should be able to pretty much run through that district. So are you going to get bounced in the first round again? Because at that point, they start coming for people, you know?
Exactly. And we'll talk more about the kind of stock that we have in Canadian just a little bit later. But before we get to that, let's go ahead and move on down to the 2A ranks. Coming in hot at 2A Division 1, we've got the scary beast of a team, number 6, Stratford. Last week, this team had a 60-0 win over Cuero. 60-0. Stratford is hot right now. We'll, of course, talk more about them.
Groover.
Oh, it's Groover?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I just...
I was like, whoa, hang on.
Maybe I made that... I looked at that wrong. But
no.
I guess that would make more sense. And now they are playing Vega next week. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I just got that wrong.
It was over Groover.
Over Groover, yes. 16-0 win over Groover. But still, man, that's super impressive. Stratford, of course, is 3-0 on the season. And coming in last in our rankings... Or not last, I guess, but... last for this segment. We've got 2A Division 1, Number 4, Wellington. They are 2-1 on the season in a really, really good win last week over Amarillo River Road, shutting them out 42-0. And of course, they got to take on Spearman this week.
Yeah, the Skyrockets have looked pretty good, but that's the thing for them is it's not necessarily needing to rebuild. It's just reloading.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Very interested to see what they end up doing there.
Yeah, Wellington's got a really, really cool mascot. They're like one of my favorites. It's super, super, super fun to watch them. But so there you go. There are our DCTF ranked teams in the Panhandle region, and like I said, only 6 out of those 43 teams are actually ranked right now. So it'll be interesting to see if any more can sneak into the top 10 of each classification. So now we're going to give you 6 of our players to watch in the Panhandle region. Starting off strong, we've got Amarillo Tascosa defensive lineman Avion Carter. I'm sure you've heard of him. Mm-hmm. He's committed to TCU. He's 6'4", 260 pounds. He's defensive lineman, but also can line up on the end. Man, he's got the height to tip or even block passes from release, and he's got the speed and agility to just get in the backfield and stop the play behind the line of scrimmage. He's had quite a few offers, especially in Texas, like SMU, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, but of course ultimately committed to TCU back in June of this year. And I'm going to be quite frank when I say this, but this guy is probably the best player in this region.
Oh, yeah. No, this is one that we've been hearing about for the past couple of years now. Like, everyone knows his name. I mean, the 5A Division I Defensive Player of the Year last year as a junior. Just a really an impressive talent and unbelievable size. But, yeah, Avion Carter has been a household name in that region for a couple of years now.
Yeah. Moving on down to Perryton, offensive lineman and defensive lineman Brian Chacon. I believe that's how you say it. Mm-hmm. Standing at 6'3", 230 pounds. He brings so much to the table on both sides of the ball. He is a first-team all-district center, as well as a honorable mention all-state center and defensive end. So, yes, he plays both sides of the ball. He finished the season with 42 pancakes. 42 pancakes.
Let's roll.
And also, did not allow a single sack. Dude is an absolute beast in the trenches.
He really is. He's like you said, big size, but he doesn't let that keep him from being versatile.
No, not at all.
I mean, he's all over the line, and it's not often that a center can end up moving at other places of the line. They typically are pretty ground set right there, which, I mean, that takes a lot of mental skill. It takes a lot of, ability to help kind of also quarterback the offense, if you will, but to be able to go over there and be a legit threat, specifically in the blocking game, I feel like is what makes him as special as he is.
Mm-hmm. Let's move down to Dumas quarterback and defensive back Emmanuel Ibanez. And if you see quarterback on there, you might think, he's not a quarterback. Yes, he's a quarterback. Yeah, he played defensive back his past 2 years, but he switched over to quarterback this year. He is a key for the Dumas secondary, being super, super fast. He even recovered a fumble in week 1 against Lubbock Cooper. But like I said before, he also started in his first game at quarterback 2 weeks ago against Lubbock Cooper, playing under center for the first time since middle school. And this dude is so good. He threw for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns, led Dumas with 112 rushing yards on 11 carries last week against Perryton. And defensively, he made 4 tackles with 3 pass breakups and averaged 43.5 yards a punt.
My God.
This dude does it all. He has just become an integral part of this Dumas squad. And I think Dumas has really been clicking this year. I know they got that loss to Lubbock Cooper at the beginning of the week because they played up a classification. But, man, this guy has this squad really clicking this year.
Well, and the thing that recruiters love about this kid is he's big on the track side of things.
Yes,
he's
fast.
He pole vaulting. Like, I don't know if he qualified for state last year, but I know that was like the main goal was to qualify for state. But he also qualified for state in the 4x4, which is, where all of the eyes goes. But yeah, he's quick, and I think that honestly probably helped him with the quarterback spot. Was just they knew that if they needed someone to scramble back there, that he was going to be able to gain yards. So I don't think Dumas was as concerned about a high flying offense. I think they were more concerned about someone who could really control the game, and I think Emmanuel can absolutely do that.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where, like, he comes in and you got to look and see his skill set and kind of adjust your offense based off of what he can do, kind of like what Texas is doing right now, but that's for another topic. Let's move on down to Amarillo River Road linebacker Jordan Avina, and I really like this guy as a defender. Like, no matter where he is on the field, he's just got a knack at getting at the quarterback, just getting in the backfield, getting at whoever's got the ball behind the line of scrimmage. He can play defensive end he also lines up at linebacker as well. And only through 2 games this season, he's already had 31 tackles. And I couldn't find his updated stats for week 3, but just through 2 games, this dude has already got 31 tackles. So he's looking really, really good for this defense.
Yeah, he was the preseason district MVP also, so that really helps. But I like the fact that at linebacker, he's able to line up at inside or outside.
Yes, yes.
So good awareness there, and really like a ball hawking stance that he has. So impressed by him being able to play both of those positions.
And speaking of somebody else who can do it all besides Ashley Pickle, we've got Vega Utility. Dude. All right, you got to help me. Joaquin. I think it's Joaquin, just like the school, Segovia. This dude, he's a quarterback, he's a running back, and he's a defensive back. He lines up a quarterback, pretty much acting as a dual threat quarterback. I think that's where that running back skill set comes in. He lines up on the other side of the ball, of course, as a defensive back. Last week alone, he had 442 rushing yards and he was all on that 5 touchdown game that they had against Panhandle. He was a part of all 5 touchdowns. And on the defensive side of the ball, Segovia made 6 tackles. Yeah, he is just a weapon for this Vega team. He's got good size as well, standing tall at 5'11", almost 6 foot. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think Segovia
he's really good.
Is in Vega's a really high-flying offense. They always have been. Like, they're people that like to try and outscore you at any point in time, and I think he has been, the past 2 years, the biggest threat that people are having to watch out for, which is great because it opens up the possibility for them to hit other targets as well because they've got a bunch of them. Right.
And to round it all out, let's end this thing with Follett athlete Shane Franks. This dude's a playmaker, really on both sides of the ball. He lines up at running back as well as linebacker. He recorded 1,400 yards and 38 touchdowns last season, and also 110 tackles. So yes, a lot of these guys do it all, but this dude really, really does it all. And of course, this year has been no different. He's really been the go-to guy for the Panthers this season. And after just 1 week, I couldn't find the last 2 week stats, but just after 1 week, Franks rushed for 101 yards on 7 carries and 3 touchdowns, and of course recorded 3 tackles on the other side of the ball. And of course, if you remember from February, way back when realignment was happening, Follett moved up from 1A Division II to Division I this season. And they've really been relying on this guy heavily to continue that program's success. So there you go. That was a lot. That's a lot of talent. That's a lot of guys. You know what? And that's the thing. That's a lot of guys that can do it all in that Panhandle region, which is super, super impressive. You know, we've always got a lot of talent and stuff on these things, but not a lot of guys that can just really do it all.
No,
like,
and that's
in this region,
especially because those, like, Avion Carter is huge. He's a monster, like physical stature wise.
Right.
He's a monster when he plays too. You know what I meant? He's a big guy. A lot of those other players, you look at them compared to other players across the state, and they're not the biggest, they're not the strongest, they're not the fastest. But boy, howdy, do they play with a level of intensity that is really the fundamental base of Panhandle football. When you ask me what I think of people that might be undersized that play with an unbelievable amount of intensity.
Right, and that just says something to the classification as well. When you've got an offensive lineman at the 6A level and he's going to play at Georgia or Alabama, that dude's probably 300 plus pounds. You can't put him on the defensive side of the ball. You just can't. You can't put him at an edge rusher. He's probably just not fast enough. So when you move down the classification ranks down to these 2A and 1A schools, these guys they're probably athletic. They don't have much beef to them, but they're athletic and they can run, so you can put them at multiple positions on the field. But nonetheless, there you go. There's some players to watch in the Panhandle region. And now, let's look at some storylines to follow. But before I mention any of those, let's look at stonks.
Always try your hand up stonks.
There you go. There's your stonks here. We're going to talk about stonks. You can thank Ashley Pickle for that because she made that
Thank you.
She made that like an hour before we went live, and she's like, hey. So she's got her laptop in her hand, and she comes over to my desk and she goes, hey, look at this. I made this. And I was like, is that what you're doing over there? That's what you're doing over there? Is making that?
Do this crap.
But there you go.
Great.
There's your intro.
She was like, what if we do like are you in or are you out? And I was like, stonks.
I was like, all right, I guess that's what we're doing.
So
I can't say no to that.
WTF stonks report.
Stonks. And before we get to that, I do.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we're getting stonks time. I should have brought my glasses. Gosh darn it, I have my sunglasses.
Oh, jeez. I guess that works too. Oh, my God. You look cooler than I do.
It stonks o'clock, baby.
It stonks o'clock. No. No. I love it, but no.
Oh, I'm already tired. It's only week 4.
Let's go ahead and move to our first stonks of the week. Can the Elks, the Stratford Elks, run it back? Now, okay, these are throwing me off. I can't wear those. I'm seeing like the reflection. I'm like, nah, I can't do that. Let's run it back to last season. The Elks ended their run last year at AT&T Stadium as the 2A Division II state champions. Of course, coming off a 15-1 season. That only loss, respectively, is coming from Bushland. Get that. The Elks were moved. If you remember back to February during realignment, the Elks were moved up to A Division 1, head of 2A Division 2, and they're already off to a super, super, super hot start. They are 3-0 on this season. They got Spearman first. They won 42-12, and that's a 3A team. And they play them every year, I saw. They do play them every year, but they have taken the dominant hand in that series the past couple of years. They beat Sunray 41-21, and of course they beat Groover last week in a thrilling 60-0 shutout. And I'm going to say this. I don't think they've really been tested this season.
No.
Because when you look back, they have a couple of losses to Spearman in the past. Now, they're of course, Spearman is in 3A. But the past 2 years, they have taken a dominant lead in that series against Spearman. So, and of course, Sunray and Groover are both still in 2A Division 2. So they have not played anybody in their division quite yet. So I'm curious to see what this team looks like come district play. And I think they were stuck in a pretty good district. I think that I'm just going to come out right and say it. I really think they could probably go undefeated in district play as well.
Yes.
The issue is when you get to the playoffs.
Yep.
The teams that they have to run into now that they are 2A Division 1, you've got probably Cisco almost right out of the gate, I would assume. You got New Deal.
Also looking very good right now.
And then you got Holly. And then if you even make it out of that region, you're probably going to match up with Marlin. And when you haven't had experience playing those teams in that classification, or I guess in that division, can they run it back? Can they make it to AT&T Stadium again?
Yeah, I'll push back on the Marlin thing. I think right now in Region 2, who's looking a little bit more dominant, which Marlin could get the district.
Well, they don't have Gillette, do they?
No. Yeah,
Gillette's out. Yeah, I forgot about
hurt.
that. Yeah.
He transferred anyway. He wasn't going to be with them, but he
Okay.
is out regardless. It's
Right.
not, he'll forever be in our minds, Marlin. But
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
Crawford is the team right now that in that Region 2 that's looking like the team to have in Region 2. But I agree. Region 1, which is
It's
not
tough.
the case that usually, which is crazy because if you look at 2A Division 1 as a whole, Regions 3 and 4 are where the juggernauts are. That's where you have Shiner, you have Refugio in Region 4, and then when you go up to Region 3, you have Timpson.
Yeah.
So we've been looking at it going, okay, hey, who do we think is going to come out of the left side of the bracket? And I think you're right. I think right now the favorite to me looks like Holly. Now they've got a big test this week against Albany, so that will answer
That'll
a lot
be telling
of our questions. But if Holly is not necessarily in the conversation come that point, then I don't see any reason why Stratford, it couldn't be Stratford. But you're right. They don't have an easy path. New Deal is no one to look over. Cisco's no one to look over. It'll be very interesting if they can get to the game with Holly. First off, that's going to be a banger of a regional final. There's no doubt about that. But then I think the winner of Region 1, in my mind, will be the winner of the state semifinal.
Yes, I agree.
I think that Coleman's really good. We just talked to their coach earlier. They're only carrying 22 kids.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's
playing that long into December with only 22 kids. You have to, one, hope that everyone stays healthy. That's the first thing he told us when we asked him how he was, and he's like, we're healthy, we're good.
Depth is such an issue at that level, too, all the time.
I think Holly and Stratford are the two out of the left side of the bracket that they could do it. And all they've got to do really is get past them, and then, okay, well, here we're at. So it's not out of the realm.
If we can see a Holly and Stratford matchup.
Yeah, that would be chef's kiss out of the Region 1 regional final there.
Yeah, but I think overall, I think the Elks have a really, really good chance on making it back to AT&T Stadium this year.
I would agree.
Now, someone who doesn't have a great chance of making it back to AT&T Stadium.
Stonks.
Well, maybe not great. Like, okay, we'll talk about it.
These Canadian are declining stonks.
Yeah, declining stonks.
The Stratford stonks are like even keel stonks in my mind. Like they can do it and they can start trending up, but now we're going negative.
We're kind of going down a little bit. Canadian Wildcats, are they losing stock? My answer is I think so. If you remember back to a couple years ago, let's move it all the way back to 2018. The Wildcats made it to the state finals, but eventually fell to Newton in that game. In 2019, they fell to Gunner in the state semifinals. So they at least, they got close. 2020, of course, they win it all. Go off and win it all. In 2021, they go 9-4, get knocked out of the playoffs in the regional semifinals. I don't remember who that was. Was it Abernathy?
Yes.
Abernathy. Okay, yes. Abernathy is a pretty good team, but this Canadian team is they're just historically really good. So I wouldn't have picked that to be an issue for them. And I want to mention, too, that those 4 losses, they haven't lost over 3 games. Or no, let me skip. They haven't had over 3 losses in the entire year in a season since 2011. So that's been almost 10 years since they have had over 3 losses in a single season. And they already have 2 right now. They stand at 1-2. Now, those 2 losses, of course, we talked about it earlier. They are coming from those 2 Oklahoma teams. And, I mean, we're not Oklahoma high school football experts, so we can't really gauge to see how good those Oklahoma teams are, and we can't really gauge to see, what classification are they? Did they even match up well in the first place? But of course, that other that win, I had that win on here, but I don't remember. It was a pretty dominant win that they had. I can't remember who it was, but nonetheless, if you ask me, I think that their stock is probably falling just a little bit. Just from that single stat alone. They haven't had 3 losses in a single season since 2011. And they went 9-4 last year, and they already have 2 losses on the year right now. So, I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's kind of fallen a little bit?
I do, and I think that this is an easy thing for us to overreact to because for the past 5 years before last year, we saw Canadian and Gunner in the state semifinals every single year. That was in the same vein. In Texas high school football people's minds, that's the same vein as seeing Shiner Refugio in the Region 4 regional final. You just know that that's going to happen, and when it didn't, then it's like... Oh my gosh.
You overreact to it. You automatically...
Then when they come in and they've got... Now, the 2 losses this year, they're pretty glaring. I think that it's easy to say that, but I think that Region 1 and 3 Division 2 as a whole just looks a little bit weaker because usually it's Canadian and Childress every single year, and Childress is really down this year.
They got blown out too.
You know,
last week.
they got blown out in the playoffs last year, so I think that they're kind of down. And then you look at it, Abernathy. I think Abernathy has the shot right now to be able to step up in Region 1 and say, hey, we're the favorite. Like, you can't. I don't think that they've really lost that much. I think that they look like they're back on the same path. So I think it'll really come down to Canadian and Abernathy again out of Region 1. But Region 2 has completely stepped it up too, because usually Gunner hasn't done anything. They have a big game against Brock this week where we'll get a lot of questions answered there, but they haven't done anything to not prove like a murder machine like they have been for the past couple of years. But then also I think that Holiday is looking really well. Let's see who else. I think Eastland's been doing okay.
Yeah, that region itself is just
so. I mean, it's
tough.
Just, yeah, it's Comanche looks pretty good. Not gonna lie about that one either. But yeah, I think that Childress is down, so Canadian should have that for the taking when it comes to District 3. But I think in District 4 it's gonna be Abernathy, and I think that that's ultimately what it'll come down to. They'll either fall to Abernathy again in the regional semis, or they'll go on. And the Gunner thing worries me too. But getting past Abernathy needs to be their goal first and foremost.
Yeah, and I think you said it earlier too. They're used to being so good, right? They're used to being that dominant team up in that Panhandle region, but like just being down, I mean, that's probably going to take a toll on them as well. You know, like year in and year out, you got players coming in like, oh yeah, we're the dominant team up in this region. Like we are the dominant team,
right? And that's why it's so easy to overreact when they get bounced by a very good Abernathy team last year. But it's easy to go, oh my gosh, Canadians down. They're 9-4. It's done.
And 9-4 is not bad. No. Like that's 9 wins on the season. But to us, because we're overreactors, that's a lot. That's a lot. So, anyways, you can take what you want from that. That's our stonk session. Stonks up on Stratford. Stonk maybe down on the Canadian Wildcats. But nonetheless,
Coach
there you
Kenny's
go.
going to listen to this and he's going to be like,
you guys
watch.
Watch us. And that's what we want.
That's what we
like doing that. We like when you say watch.
Hey, thanks for watching this clip here on YouTube. If you like this kind of stuff and you want more of it, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, you can watch us live every weekday at noon at TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, or here on YouTube. And if you want more of the best coverage of football in the state of Texas, check out TexasFootball.com and become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at TexasFootball.com/subscribe.